SAR dog found a pregnant woman tied to a tree, but when they untied her, she started screaming. The search and rescue dog froze on the trail, refusing to move no matter how hard Officer Monroe pulled at the leash. "What's wrong with you?" she snapped, until a scream tore through the forest. "Help! My baby's coming!" a pregnant woman cried out in panic. But as Monroe got closer, what she saw nearly cost her life. So what exactly did she see that day? First, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the Southridge Police Department as Officer Jenna Monroe organized evidence files at her desk. The early morning shift had just begun, but she'd already been there for an hour. Preferring the quiet solitude before the bullpen filled with chatter, she deliberately avoided. "Monroe, you coming to Mike's retirement thing on Friday?" Detective Wilson called from across the room, already knowing the answer. "Got plans," Jenna replied, without looking up, her standard response. She never had plans, at least not with other people, but the department had stopped questioning her excuses. At 34, Jenna had built a reputation as the department's most effective lone wolf. Her case closure rate topped the charts, her reports impeccable, her testimony unshakable. She was also, as Captain Briggs once observed, about as approachable as a cactus covered in barbed wire. Her desk told the story her words never would. No photos of family or friends, no personal touches beyond a ceramic mug that read "Leave me alone" in bold letters, a gag gift she'd embraced as a personal manifesto. The whispers followed her. Brilliant detective, impossible partner. There were theories about her background, a partner's betrayal, family tragedy. But Jenna never confirmed or denied. She did her job with cold precision, went home to her empty apartment, and returned the next day. "Monroe!" the department administrator called. "Captain Briggs wants you in his office. Now." Jenna tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear as she stood. Captain Briggs rarely summoned her unless it was important or problematic. She'd learned to appreciate that about him. He respected her space so long as she delivered results. The squad room parted as she walked through, colleagues giving her a wider berth than necessary. A learned respect for her bubble of isolation. She knocked on the captain's door with 3 sharp raps. "Come in, Monroe." Captain Tyler Briggs sat behind his desk, silver hair cropped short above intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Next to him stood Officer Joe Weller, his uniform crisp and his expression friendly in a way that immediately put Jenna on edge. At Weller's feet sat a German shepherd with intelligent eyes and an alert posture, wearing a vest that identified him as a SAR dog. The presence of both the canine officer and his dog in this meeting sent a clear warning signal to Jenna. Whatever this was about, she wasn't going to like it. "You wanted to see me, Captain?" she asked, remaining standing near the door, maintaining her preferred distance from both the overly cheerful Weller and his 4-legged partner. "Monroe, I've been reviewing your casework from last quarter," Briggs began, his tone measured. "Exceptional as always." Jenna's eyes narrowed. Compliments were typically the prelude to something unpleasant. "Thank you, sir," she replied, waiting for the other shoe to drop. "Your investigative instincts are the gold standard in this department," Captain Briggs continued. "But I'm concerned, Monroe." "About my work performance?" Jenna challenged. "About your isolation," Briggs replied bluntly. "You've turned down 3 partnership assignments in a year. You haven't attended a single department function. You're an island, Monroe, and that's not sustainable in this line of work." Jenna's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, sir, my closure rates suggest otherwise." Briggs exchanged a glance with Weller. "Monroe, this is Officer Joe Weller and his partner Apollo. They're from our search and rescue division." The German shepherd's ears perked up at the mention of his name, his intelligent eyes studying Jenna. "We've received multiple reports of screaming from hikers on Eagle Ridge Trail," Briggs explained. 3 separate incidents in the past week. The hikers reported female screams, but rangers found nothing. Jenna frowned. "Sounds like teenagers pulling pranks. Or mountain lions. Their screams can sound human." Possibly, Briggs nodded. But we need to rule out someone in distress. I want you to take Apollo and do a sweep of the area. Sir, I'm homicide, not search and rescue. Surely, Officer Weller has a training session he can't reschedule, Briggs interrupted. And we're short-staffed with the Westlake investigation. Jenna knew this was a lie. This was Briggs's attempt at forcing her to work with someone, or something else. Captain, I have no experience with canine units, Jenna argued, keeping her tone respectful despite her frustration. I wouldn't know the first thing about handling a search dog. Apollo is fully trained, Weller chimed in with a smile that grated on Jenna's nerves. He does most of the work. You just need to hold the leash and follow his lead. See? Simple, Briggs added. Should only take a couple of hours. The trailhead's been closed this morning. Jenna tried a different approach. Sir, I'm in the middle of the Rothman case files, which will still be there when you get back, Briggs countered. I'm asking you to do your job, which occasionally involves tasks outside your comfort zone. Jenna glanced down at Apollo, who seemed to be watching the conversation with understanding. His tail gave a single, hopeful wag. With respect, sir, I work better alone, she stated flatly. Dogs are unpredictable. They're a liability. Actually, Weller interjected, Apollo has a higher success rate than most human officers. 6 missing hikers found last year alone. Officer Monroe, Briggs said, his tone making it clear the discussion was ending. I'm not asking. This is an assignment. If you have objections, file them when you return. The finality in his voice made it clear. This was happening whether she liked it or not. Jenna's mouth tightened into a thin line as she reached for the leash Weller was offering. Yes, sir, she replied coldly, taking the leather lead. Apollo stood, his posture alert and professional. Good luck, Monroe, Briggs called as she turned to leave. Try not to scare the dog. Jenna stalked through the precinct, with the leash clutched in her hand like a snake she'd been forced to carry. Apollo padded beside her, matching her pace perfectly despite her attempts to walk faster than was comfortable. This is ridiculous, she muttered as they pushed through the department's glass doors into the parking lot. Officers passing by did double takes at the sight of Jenna Monroe, the department's notorious loner, with a dog trotting alongside her. She yanked open her unmarked sedan's door, pointing to the back seat. In, she commanded Apollo, with the same tone she used on uncooperative suspects. The German shepherd tilted his head slightly, those intelligent brown eyes studying her for a moment before he gracefully leaped into the back seat, settling himself with military precision. The drive to Eagle Ridge was filled with Jenna's one-sided complaints. 20 minutes to the trailhead, an hour to confirm there's nothing there, 20 minutes back. This will be over before lunch, she reassured herself, glancing in the rearview mirror. Apollo sat perfectly still, watching the scenery pass with what Jenna could swear was enjoyment, his nose occasionally twitching when they passed something interesting. Each time she accelerated in frustration, the dog adjusted his balance without complaint. When she slowed for traffic, he seemed to anticipate the change, bracing slightly before she touched the brake. Stop being so accommodating, she muttered, irrationally annoyed by his perfect behavior. When they arrived at the deserted trailhead, Jenna pulled her service weapon from the glove compartment, checking it before securing it in her shoulder holster. She grabbed her department jacket, zipping it against the autumn chill, and reached for her radio. Let's get this over with, she said, opening her door. Before she could even reach for his leash, Apollo had already leaped out of the back seat and was standing at attention on the gravel parking area, waiting patiently. Seriously? Jenna glared at him. You couldn't just stay put until I was ready? Apollo's tail wagged once, his expression almost resembling a smile. As they started up the trail, Jenna continued her one-sided conversation, finding the dog's silent presence oddly compelling. I don't need a partner, human or canine, she informed him as they climbed. Partners are liabilities. They get emotionally involved. They make mistakes. They expect you to share your thoughts, your feelings, your lunch. Apollo trotted alongside her, occasionally glancing up as if listening. The thing is, she continued, ducking under a branch, alone is safer. Nobody gets hurt when things go sideways. Nobody lets you down. She noticed with irritation that Apollo matched her exact pace, speeding up when she did, slowing on steeper sections, never pulling or lagging behind. It was as if he was deliberately showing her how effortless partnership could be. "And stop being so damn perfect," she added with a scowl. "You're not proving anything." They had been hiking for nearly 20 minutes, following the main trail through dense pine forest, when Apollo suddenly halted. The abrupt stop caught Jenna mid-stride, and she stumbled forward, catching herself against a tree trunk. "What the hell?" she snapped, brushing pine needles from her palm. When she turned to scold the dog further, the words died in her throat. Apollo had transformed from the accommodating companion into something entirely different. His body was rigid, ears erect and swiveling like radar dishes, muscles tensed beneath his working vest. Gone was any trace of the good-natured animal from earlier. In his place stood a focused professional, scanning for something beyond human perception. "Apollo?" Despite herself, Jenna lowered her voice, responding instinctively to the dog's changed demeanor. The German Shepherd didn't acknowledge her, his attention completely absorbed in whatever signals he was processing. Only his ears moved, twitching slightly as he sorted through the forest sounds. "Only one part of him is moving," Jenna observed aloud, trying to lighten the suddenly tense atmosphere. "And no, not his wiener, his ears." The joke fell flat even to her own ears, the tension of Apollo's posture somehow contagious. Jenna strained to hear whatever had caught the dog's attention. The forest seemed normal. Wind through the pines, distant bird calls, the occasional rustle of small animals in the underbrush. Nothing that would explain Apollo's sudden transformation. "It's probably just a squirrel," she muttered, tugging lightly on the leash. "Come on, we're wasting time." Apollo didn't budge, his attention still fixed on something beyond her perception. Then, without warning, he lunged forward with such power that the leash nearly jerked from Jenna's grasp. He took off at a full sprint down the trail, barking with an urgency that sent nearby birds scattering from the trees. "Apollo, stop!" Jenna shouted, forced into an awkward run to keep up. The dog was surprisingly fast, pulling her along the trail at a pace that had her breathing hard within seconds. They veered off the main path onto a narrower game trail, plunging deeper into the forest. After 3 minutes of sustained running, Jenna's lungs were burning. Just as she was about to drop the leash and let the damn dog go, Apollo skidded to a halt in a small clearing. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she gasped, bending forward to catch her breath. "We're in the middle of nowhere now. Are you happy?" Apollo stood alert at the edge of the clearing, his bark changing to a higher-pitched, insistent sound. He was staring intently into the denser forest beyond, his entire body signaling alarm. "Great," Jenna muttered, straightening up and wiping sweat from her forehead. "You've dragged me out here to bark at nothing. Some search and rescue expert, you—" A scream cut through the forest, high, feminine, and unmistakably human. It was followed by a desperate cry, "Help! Somebody help me!" Jenna's head snapped toward the sound, her hand automatically moving to her weapon. She looked back at Apollo with new understanding. "That's what you were tracking?" she asked, genuine surprise in her voice. "You actually found something?" The dog's intense focus remained on the direction of the cries, his continued barking taking on a warning quality she hadn't noticed before. "Help!" the woman's voice called again, more desperate this time. "Please, I'm over here." "I hear you," Jenna called back, already moving toward the voice. "Keep shouting so I can find you." Apollo barked sharply, planting himself firmly in Jenna's path. His posture had changed again, hackles slightly raised, ears forward, body blocking her direction of travel. "What now?" Jenna snapped, her brief moment of appreciation for the dog evaporating. "Someone needs help." She tried to step around him, but Apollo shifted, continuing to obstruct her path while barking with increasing intensity. "Out of my way," Jenna ordered, dropping his leash in frustration. "Stay here if you want, but I'm going." As she pushed past the dog, she heard the woman's voice again, closer now. "Please hurry. I've been here all night." Jenna drew her weapon, keeping it pointed safely downward as she moved through the dense underbrush. Behind her, Apollo's barks had taken on a different quality, almost desperate, as if trying to communicate something specific. "You led me here, and now you don't want to help?" Jenna called over her shoulder. "What kind of search and rescue dog are you? You're not a dog, you're a pussy." The insult echoed between the trees as she pushed forward, following the increasingly frantic cries. Apollo's barks faded behind her as she forged ahead, ducking under branches and climbing over fallen logs. "I'm coming," she called. "Keep talking so I can find you." "Over here," the woman's voice directed. "By the big oak tree. Please hurry. I think my baby's coming." Jenna redoubled her pace, crashing through a thicket of brambles that tore at her jacket. She emerged into a small shadowed clearing dominated by a massive oak tree. Tied to its trunk was a young woman with disheveled blonde hair, visibly pregnant, her maternity dress torn and stained with what appeared to be blood. "Oh, thank God," the woman sobbed when she saw Jenna. "I thought no one would find me." Jenna holstered her weapon and rushed forward, quickly assessing the situation. The woman's wrists were bound to the tree with rope, tight enough to leave angry red marks on her skin. Despite the apparent bloodstains on her clothing, Jenna couldn't immediately locate any wounds. "I'm Officer Monroe, Southridge Police," she said, kneeling beside the woman. "Are you injured? Who did this to you?" "My name's Melissa," the woman gasped. "Please, my baby. I think something's wrong." There was pain all night, and then bleeding started. Jenna retrieved a pocket knife from her jacket and carefully cut through the ropes binding the woman's wrists. "How far along are you?" 8 months, Melissa answered, rubbing her freed wrists. "Please, can you call an ambulance? My phone's gone." Jenna reached for her radio, then hesitated. Something wasn't adding up. The woman's wrists showed rope burns, but they weren't the deep overnight abrasions she'd expect from someone struggling against restraints for hours. And despite the apparent blood on her dress, there were no visible injuries, nor did the blood pattern match what she'd expect from pregnancy complications. "Let me check you over first," Jenna said, maintaining her professional tone while her instincts screamed warnings. "Who tied you here? When did this happen?" Melissa's eyes darted nervously around the clearing. "Just some hikers. They robbed me, took my wedding ring, my watch." Her hand rested protectively over her swollen belly. "Please, my baby." Jenna reached for her water bottle, offering it to the woman. "Here, drink this. Help is coming." As she shifted position to retrieve the water, something caught her peripheral vision. A brief movement in the underbrush behind the oak tree. Her police instincts kicked into overdrive. "It's a trap!" The realization came a split second too late. Pain exploded at the base of her skull, and darkness claimed her consciousness before she even hit the ground. Jenna awoke to the worst headache of her life and the uncomfortable sensation of rough bark digging into her back. Her vision swam into focus gradually, revealing the same clearing, but from a new perspective. She was now the one tied to the oak tree, her wrists bound painfully behind her. "Look who's finally awake," a male voice announced. The pregnant woman, Melissa, stood nearby, her posture transformed. Gone was any distress, replaced by casual confidence as she peeled away the prosthetic pregnancy belly from beneath her dress. Beside her stood a man with a scruffy beard, twirling Jenna's service weapon around one finger. Jenna recognized him as the one who had knocked her unconscious. "Gotta hand it to you," the man said to Melissa. "You really sold that damsel in distress routine." Melissa smirked, stuffing the fake belly into a backpack. "Method acting. I was going for an Emmy." Jenna tested her restraints, finding them expertly tied. "So this is your game? Luring hikers with fake distress calls?" "Usually just tourists," the man confirmed, examining her wallet. "Credit cards, watches, phones. They're carrying thousands in gear. One good hit, and we clear a few thousand before moving on." "But today," Melissa added with malicious glee, "we got ourselves a cop, complete with service weapon, radio, and badge." The man pocketed Jenna's badge. "This'll come in handy." "You won't get away with this," Jenna stated calmly despite the throbbing pain in her skull. "When I don't report back, they'll send search parties." The couple exchanged amused glances. "We'll be long gone by then," Melissa assured her. "Different county, different state. We never hit the same spot twice. As for you, the man added, these woods get pretty wild after dark. Hope your department finds you before the predators do. The reality of her situation crashed over Jenna with sickening clarity. Tied to a tree in a rarely used section of trail, her radio and phone taken, no one expecting her back for hours, and with her reputation for avoiding human contact, her colleagues might not even think to search until tomorrow. This could be a murder charge, Jenna warned, trying to keep them talking while she worked at the ropes. Assaulting an officer, kidnapping, robbery, you're looking at decades in prison. Only if they catch us, the man laughed. And only if you survive to testify. He tapped her service weapon against his thigh. Maybe we should just finish this now. No, Melissa intervened. No bodies, remember? That's our rule. Rubes, tourists, even cops, we take their stuff, not their lives. As the couple continued bickering about their exit strategy, Jenna felt an unfamiliar emotion welling up inside her. Not fear of death, but regret. Regret for the connections she'd pushed away, the walls she'd built so high that no one would think to look for her when she didn't return. She would die alone in these woods, just as she had lived, isolated by her own design. The sound of branches snapping in the distance silenced the arguing couple. Someone's coming, the man hissed, drawing Jenna's weapon. Time to go. Wait, what about her? Melissa whispered urgently, gesturing toward Jenna. Leave her. By the time she's found, if she's found, we'll be 3 counties away. They gathered their belongings hastily, including Jenna's equipment. The man gave her one last mocking salute with her own gun before they disappeared into the dense forest, moving quickly and quietly like the experienced criminals they were. The forest fell silent, save for the distant calls of birds and the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. Jenna renewed her efforts against the ropes, feeling the rough fibers bite into her already raw wrists. The head wound made it difficult to focus, darkness occasionally threatening at the edges of her vision. Another twig snapped, closer this time. Jenna froze, heart pounding. Had the couple changed their minds? Come back to eliminate the witness after all? A low, familiar bark broke the silence. Apollo? Jenna called, her voice cracking with unexpected emotion. The German Shepherd burst into the clearing, moving with purpose directly to her side. His intelligent eyes assessed her condition before he immediately began working at the ropes with his teeth. You came back, Jenna whispered, the simple fact striking her with surprising force. Apollo worked methodically, powerful jaws making short work of the rope fibers. Within minutes, Jenna's hands were free, though her wrists were bloodied from the restraints and her efforts to escape. She rubbed feeling back into her hands, wincing at the pins and needles sensation as circulation returned. We need to go after them, she told Apollo, struggling to her feet. They took my weapon, my badge, everything. The dog watched her carefully, seemingly evaluating her condition. Without her asking, he moved to her side, offering his solid frame for support as she steadied herself against a wave of dizziness. I'm fine, she insisted, though the evidence suggested otherwise. We need to find them before they disappear. Apollo barked once, then turned to face the forest, his posture signaling a clear direction, but not the one the couple had taken. No, they went that way, Jenna pointed, taking an unsteady step. I saw them. Apollo remained fixed on his chosen direction, barking again with unmistakable insistence. Jenna hesitated, torn between her human certainty and the dog's obvious conviction. The memory of his earlier warning, the warning she had ignored, surfaced in her mind. You knew, she realized aloud. You were trying to tell me it was a trap. Apollo's ears perked forward at her words, as if confirming her understanding. The choice crystallized with surprising clarity. Trust her own judgment, which had already failed her once today, or trust this animal who had already proven his instincts correct. All right, she conceded. Lead the way. Without hesitation, Apollo moved forward, maintaining a pace that Jenna could follow despite her injuries. He led her along a narrow game trail that wound through denser forest. occasionally pausing to ensure she was keeping up. The path twisted downhill, following a small stream before cutting back sharply upward. Jenna realized they were circling around, approaching the main trail from a different angle, a shortcut she would never have found on her own. As they crested a small rise, Apollo suddenly dropped into a crouch, his ears flat against his head. Jenna instinctively mirrored his posture, ducking behind a fallen log. Below them, perhaps 50 yards ahead, she could see the main trail, and walking along it, laughing and sorting through her stolen belongings, were Melissa and her partner. Apollo looked at Jenna, then at the couple, his meaning clear. We've gotten ahead of them. For the first time that day, Jenna smiled. Good boy, she whispered. Now let's set a trap of our own. Jenna assessed the terrain quickly, her tactical training kicking in despite the throbbing pain in her skull. The trail ahead narrowed between two rock formations, creating a natural bottleneck, perfect for an ambush. Apollo, she whispered, crouching to meet the dog's attentive gaze. We need a distraction. The German Shepherd cocked his head slightly, seeming to understand her intent. Jenna scanned the ground, finding a broken branch that would serve her purpose. When I signal, I need you to make noise in those bushes, she instructed, pointing to a thick patch of underbrush near the trail. Can you do that? Apollo's intense focus was answer enough. She positioned herself behind the rock formation, clutching the branch like a club. Without her service weapon, she'd need to be strategic and fast. The couple's voices grew louder as they approached, still celebrating their score. A real police radio, the man was saying, examining Jenna's equipment. We could monitor their channels, know exactly when they're patrolling different areas. And her gun, Melissa added. Insurance if we ever need it. They were almost at the bottleneck. Jenna caught Apollo's eye and nodded once. The dog immediately darted into position, disappearing into the undergrowth. Seconds later, a loud rustling erupted from the bushes, followed by what sounded remarkably like a pained human moan, a sound Jenna wouldn't have believed a dog could make. The couple froze, then exchanged greedy glances. Sounds like another hiker, the man whispered, drawing Jenna's service weapon. Maybe our lucky day's not over. Hello, he called, approaching the bushes cautiously. Somebody hurt in there? Melissa followed close behind, her hand drifting to the hunting knife at her belt. Be careful, Darren. The couple crept closer to the rustling bushes, attention completely focused on the potential new victim. When they reached the thicket, the man pushed aside branches with the barrel of the gun. What the? He began as he found nothing but disturbed underbrush. Jenna burst from her hiding place, swinging the branch with all her strength into the man's outstretched arm. The impact sent her service weapon flying as he howled in pain. Melissa spun around, knife raised, but froze at the sight of Apollo launching from the bushes behind her. The German Shepherd didn't attack, but his fierce bark and aggressive stance made the woman stumble backward in panic. Police! Jenna shouted, delivering a second strike that caught the man across his shoulders, driving him to his knees. Drop the knife! Melissa hesitated, then made a desperate lunge toward Jenna with the blade. Before she could complete the attack, Apollo intercepted, clamping powerful jaws around her wrist, applying enough pressure to force her to drop the weapon, but not breaking skin. Jenna quickly retrieved her fallen service weapon, training it on the couple. On the ground! Hands behind your backs! With Apollo maintaining his hold on Melissa, Jenna secured the man first, using her backup zip tie restraints from her ankle pouch, the one item the couple hadn't thought to check. You broke my arm, the man groaned as she tightened the restraints. You're lucky that's all I broke, Jenna replied coldly. Once he was secured, she nodded to Apollo. Release. The dog immediately let go of Melissa's wrist, stepping back but maintaining his alert posture as Jenna secured her as well. Officer Monroe to dispatch, Jenna reported into her recovered radio. I need backup and transport at Eagle Ridge Trail, approximately 2 miles from the North Trailhead. 2 suspects in custody for assault on an officer, armed robbery, and false imprisonment. Copy that, Officer Monroe, came the immediate response. Units en route. Are you injured? Jenna glanced at Apollo, who had settled into a watchful position, guarding the secured suspects. I'm fine. Just tell Captain Briggs his K9 was right. As they waited for backup, Melissa glared up at her. All that planning, and we're busted because of a dog? Not just any dog, Jenna corrected her, resting a hand briefly on Apollo's head. The best partner in the department. Police cruiser lights illuminated the trailhead as paramedics finished tending to the gash on Jenna's head. Captain Briggs stood nearby, watching officers load the handcuffed couple into separate vehicles. 7 similar robberies across 3 counties, Briggs informed her. They have been running this pregnant woman scam for months. At least 15 victims. Jenna winced as the paramedic applied the final butterfly bandage. They were getting confident. Said they'd never hit the same area twice. Good thing you didn't follow protocol and wait for backup, Briggs remarked, the corner of his mouth twitching. For once, your lone wolf tendencies worked in our favor. The paramedic packed up his supplies. No concussion, but take it easy for a few days. Any dizziness or vision changes, get to an ER immediately. Jenna nodded as he departed, leaving her with Briggs and Apollo, who sat quietly nearby. Officer Weller will be here soon to collect Apollo, Briggs said. Unless you'd prefer to drive him back yourself? Jenna hesitated, her eyes finding the German shepherd who had saved her life. The dog held her gaze with that same intelligent focus that had initially irritated her. I owe you an apology, sir, she said, surprising both herself and Briggs. You were right to pair me with Apollo. If I'd been there alone... She didn't need to finish. They both knew how it might have ended. The dog was just doing his job, Briggs said carefully. No, Jenna shook her head. He was doing more than that. When I was tied to that tree knowing no one would miss me until tomorrow, she swallowed hard. That was the first time I really understood what I've been doing to myself all these years. I've spent so long pushing everyone away that when I needed someone, there was no one to miss me. No one except a dog I'd been awful to all day. Apollo's ears pricked forward, as if understanding. Monroe, Jenna, Briggs said gently. The department is more than just a workplace. It can be a family if you let it. Jenna nodded, the concept suddenly less threatening than before. She approached Apollo and knelt beside him. Thank you, she said simply, extending her hand. Apollo pressed his muzzle into her palm with unexpected gentleness. Captain, Jenna said, standing, is the K-9 unit still looking for handlers? Briggs' surprise was quickly replaced by understanding. Training starts next month. I'd like to learn more about it, Jenna said, her hand resting on Apollo's head. Maybe I've been partnering with the wrong species all this time. Have you ever witnessed an animal sense danger before humans could detect it? Animals possess instincts that often surpass our own, allowing them to perceive threats we might miss completely. What would you have done in Officer Monroe's position? Trust your own judgment or follow the dog's warning when they conflicted? Would you trust a working dog's instincts, even if it meant going against what seemed logical to you? The bond between handlers and their canine partners often transcends training, becoming an almost supernatural connection where communication happens without words. If today's story touched you, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more extraordinary K9 tales. Press the notification bell so you never miss our new uploads. Share this video with friends and family who appreciate remarkable stories about police dogs and the officers who work with them. Check out our other K9 hero stories appearing on your screen right now, including the incredible tale of a tracking dog who found a missing Alzheimer's patient during a blizzard, and the bomb detection K9 who cleared a school minutes before disaster. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, with another brand new video.